I'm Ali Powell. I lead the digital and app innovation solution area for the customer success team here at Microsoft. We're a team of 12,000 tech professionals who get up every day around the world to do one thing: to work with developers like you to ensure whatever you build on the Microsoft cloud is a success. You might ask why. It's simple. If you're not successful, we're not successful. Microsoft has been helping customers deploy technologies to drive technology change for nearly 50 years. We know what it takes to successfully plan and launch digital transformation. And we draw on that expertise when working alongside customer tech teams, bringing best practices and the latest tech to co-develop successful solutions. I'm going to share a couple examples with you. Each is different, but each came about in similar ways. First up, professional services giant EY transitions a manual Excel and SQL-based tax application to a fast, modern, fully automated web-based solution. It shows the power of partnership and combining expertise and capabilities. In this case, combining EY's tax expertise with our digital transformation know-how and the comprehensive capabilities of the Microsoft Cloud to co-create a very clever and unique solution that delivers impressive results.
In today's environment, alliances are critically important, and our relationship with Microsoft is critical. We're relying on the Azure stack, the engineers at Microsoft, to build our global tax platform, which is a data management platform that's integrated with state-of-the-art engines. And without Microsoft, it'd be challenging to build all of these capabilities. One example is our value-added tax app, which allows us to extract data from the client's environment, payables, receivables, validate the information, then transform it into a common data model, and then with APIs, take it to state-of-the-art tax reporting engines, generating tax returns then for client and EY specialist reviews and centers of excellence. And having that common data model, leveraging the wonderful Microsoft technology, this app is now driving really high degrees of automation, standardization, and with that, you're seeing higher quality, efficiencies, and less risk.
Microsoft offered a very individual approach to us, and they started with analyzing and understanding of our processes and all the steps we need to perform to provision the app. Yeah, we spent countless of hours together finding the best solution for automating this. And that's why they came to us with this CNAB and the porter. And we were starting with learning how to use this tool because previously it was not known for us. So we just need to learn how to use it.
Microsoft came to us with a solution to move to cloud-native application bundles and create the bundle for our application. They introduced us to the new framework, CNAB, which specifications you can find on the GitHub, and command line tool, porter.sh, to deliver the bundles. The only prerequisites was installing the Docker, which is used to pack up the bundles. We are storing our bundles in Azure Container Registry or GitHub account. How we can use porter.sh? To start, we had to prepare our mixins for all APIs. They do not have their own building blocks or CLIs available. For our application, we are using Azure mixins, Ansible mixins to connect to our internal building block system, or Playwright to automate all manual work in our scenario, creating connections and connectors in Power Apps after each creation of a new instance. Using porter.sh, we can store all our infrastructure definitions as a code and glue this together with CI/CD processes. Now all the components of previous boxes are stored in one box. The box will be represented as a file called porter.yaml file. Once porter.yaml file is created, we can build the solution to generate the bundle to run the process of creating the new VAT instance of the app using one command. When we have our new VAT bundle ready and stored in a GitHub or Azure Container Registry, we can use it to scale deployment by creating multiple instances simultaneously. We can trigger this from anywhere, even from our local personal computer. Let me quickly show you in my Visual Studio Code the structure of the porter.yaml file. From the top, you have the name of your bundle, version of it, and description. We can use the version of the bundle to make an upgrade process or an uninstall process of the app. The registry is used to store the bundle. I'm going to publish this bundle as a package to my GitHub account. As it's a Docker-based solution, we need to pass the Docker template file to define all information about the operating system we will use. In a template file, we can define all additional components that our mixins can use later. Going forward, we have a mixin sections, where we can determine the mixins we will use and their version. Below, we are starting the main sections of the porter.yaml file, which is install, upgrade, and uninstall. In those sections, we are storing all the logic about our applications. On the end of the file, we have credentials and parameters, which are used by our bundle. Once our porter.yaml file is ready, we can start to build our bundle. Previously, we had 12 different deployments for Azure services. We have a long process of creating and deploying the Power Apps environments, and some of the steps were manual. Thanks to porter.sh, we made our new VAT bundle, which allows us to have a single artifact with all information required to create a new instance. Our developers and DevOps engineers no longer need to do so much operational knowledge to do their job, and we can prepare the bundle with the exact version of our dependencies.
For one instance, it used to take 50 hours, and let's say 1.5 days to provision one client instance. It required around 2-3 people to work on the same job, right? And the process was really complicated and required a lot of knowledge, deep knowledge about all the components and all the processes which are involved in this. And right now it's reduced up to 3 hours per one instance. And previously we were able to do once in a time. And right now we are able to provision multiple clients at the same time. We can use definitely this knowledge in other projects, in other various projects across tax, in UI and other organizations. For me, it was like the next level, right, of relationship between the customer and the vendor. It was like a really strong relationship. And when we had the chance to just spend the hours together with Microsoft engineers and to chat with them, not only on the project things, but also on some other related things. And it was really nice.
A pretty creative solution, and one with results that extend beyond modernizing a single app. Reusability is key to EY. They wanted a solution they could reuse to modernize other critical client applications. The container bundling technology developed for this solution enabled them to gain experiences that can now be modernized for other applications across the business. But next up, a different perspective on the concept of code development. We all know technology can't stand still. We continually advance what's possible to expand the potential of technology to transform business and industry. That means positioning our talent ahead of the curve to pull those advancements forward to meet customer needs. And to answer a question we are frequently asked, what if?
hey bot, what were the sales for Q2?
Q2 sales were $2,452,500.
So the challenge that we have seen and that we heard from the customers is how do we improve the experience within a meeting? So a lot of activities today with the pandemic was to people working in a hybrid mode or in a remote manner. And so meeting is becoming more and more usual. People are spending hours and a lot of time in meetings, and they still need to collaborate and do things together, achieve things together. And to do that, they need the appropriate tools to do that. And one of the key asks that we received and heard was around how do we improve the experience within the meeting and how do we assist meetings?
The customer wanted to be able to ask a question and get an answer about their business. So they wanted to be able to say, what were the sales today? Or what were the sales compared from last month to the month before? And they want to get that answer. And that's a lot of data that someone might not know or might not be able to pull up very quickly. And they want to use a bot to be able to do that. So you can have a trigger word that says, hey bot, or really whatever you want, because it's a custom solution that we're listening into that speech on the bot and say, what were the sales today? And we can then use that speech to text to go query Power BI and get all of the actual data and then have the bot talk right back into the meeting. It has a real-time connection between Teams and the server that it's running on. It seemed like an actual person was thinking and then responding.
Here on this Microsoft Graph COM samples, we have the EchoBot sample. If we come over into samples, public samples, EchoBot, here is the complete application for the Teams Voice EchoBot. There is a complete documentation of how to get it running from end to end. And then if we go in and take a look, I want to show a couple different parts of the code of what's really happening here. And so we have this bot media stream class. And if I scroll down, there's one thing that we're taking a look at in this media session audio socket. So this audio socket is where we'll be able to listen in and also talk back into the meeting. So one thing we're going to do is subscribe to the changes and when audio is being received. So if we come down to the bottom, we can take a look at that on media audio received. And we have two different options on this EchoBot. One is it will repeat exactly what you say. So you say something, you'll hear yourself. Or if you want to use cognitive services, so this is this language service, you can have the bot actually respond back with a bot voice. And with cognitive services, you can actually change the languages with this. You can have it be having spoken in one language, and you can have it repeated in that same language or even a different language if you want to. So if we look at this first part, it's appending the audio stream, this buffer, and sending it to the language service, that the language service can then do that stream, that speech to text. And then once it gets the text, it's going to then do a text to speech.
This solution is built on using two main components. So one thing is the Microsoft Teams. So you need to have the ability to use Microsoft Teams for meetings. But there is no extra cost to use Teams as a platform. So everything you can deploy to extend the experience in Teams will be free of charge from a Teams licensing perspective. What you will have to pay for is the infrastructure to host the bot itself. So we did that on Azure, but you could do that in other places. So basically, the good thing that you have an Azure subscription on one side, and you can develop your custom code and then plug this solution into Microsoft Teams to, create new scenarios. And so what has been done here is really to accelerate this complex scenario, because basically a recording bot was initially designed by partners for compliance recording. This was the main intent of this solution, and we made it more easy to deploy, and all the complexity behind that is now directly part of the solution that you deploy. So if you think in terms of time to value for the customer to build such a solution, there is a lot of benefits to start from this solution now available on GitHub than starting from scratch or from the previous samples that we had.
VMSS is virtual machine scale sets to be able to deploy the same workload on there and then be able to scale that up and down. And this is the first sample that is deployed onto virtual machine scale sets, which a lot more people have a lot more skills and capabilities using VMs versus the older version of cloud services or even Service Fabric. So right there, it helps developers because we're using virtual machines and VMSS for the scalability.
Hey, Bot, how did Q2 sales perform against projected sales?
It outperformed projected sales by $202,500 or 9%.
Hey, Bot, how does Q2 sales compare to Q2 from the previous year?
It outperformed the previous year's Q2 sales by $302,500 or 14%.
Hey, Bot, thanks.
You're welcome. Enjoy build.
Advancing what's possible is often done in partnership with customers who join us in asking what-if questions. In this case, what if I could ask teams for sales figures during a meeting instead of having to wait? Is that possible? What would it take? What else can I do with it? And you can see how the questions then lead to the next set of innovations and advancement. If you're curious about the Teams Meeting EchoBot, I invite you to be a part of that advancement and check out the public samples on GitHub and ask your own what-if questions. The EchoBot and the E&Y tax application are just two examples of co-developing solutions with customers. We have thousands and thousands more. And tomorrow, thousands of Microsoft customer success pros are going to wake up and go to work with developers around the world to ensure what they're building on the Microsoft cloud is a success. Truly excited that you're one of those developers that we get to partner with.